and welcome back to Mortals and Portals. We have a marathon. This is our third episode in one day. We're just going. Yeah, and I am your GM and host, as a host and GM, Zach, and joining me at the table is
Adam, and I play Jules, an Azarketi Bard. I'm going to finish my lunch now.
I'm Joel, and I play Dax, a kobold rogue.
Ryan, I play Tough, an automaton inventor. Also going to finish my lunch.
Darren, I play Walt's a human champion.
Are you finishing your lunch, Darren?
I had another cinnamon roll. I made cinnamon rolls this morning, fellas.
That's
Make
all
this
you
a long
need.
recap so I can eat this pizza.
This is like our sixth. We're entering into our sixth hour, right? Yeah, something like that. Or
and
fifth
I've
hour.
had 3 cinnamon rolls.
Those are rookie numbers.
We are doing it. So we are playing in between the eating. And let's see what happened last time on Mortals and Portals. So you guys kind of all talked outside the node on Mortifar. That was going to take you to Arcta. You kind of checked in on Tough. He's still mad at you about the dad, but they're still working through that. And then they went to the node to Arcta, and I did some world building on Arcta. You know, kind of talked about some special snow and things like that. It's very cool. It's what you're here for, really. You really want to know the intricacies of snow in Arcta. So that's what we've all been building towards. And then as they were walking through, they got attacked by a Yeti. I mean, you got to do it. If you got your party going through a snowy climate, you got to get him with a Yeti. You got to do it. So I did it. And they fought him for a little while, but then it turned out that something was commanding this Yeti, a direwolf perhaps, that showed up and stopped the fight. The Yeti helped Waltz up, dusted him off, and then walked off. And then the direwolf kind of gestured them towards this path that suddenly formed from a breeze coming through the forest, cleared a path in the snow, and you guys followed it, and it led you to a cabin in the woods. And then you knocked on the door, heard some heavy footsteps, and that is where we ended our session. But that's not where we'll start our session. We're going to start it 5 years in the... No, I'm just kidding. That is where we will start. Just like a huge time jump. Wait, what happened? 5 years in the future, Tough is still mad. That's where we're at.
Dax killed someone else's dad.
Yeah, Dax has killed all your dad. Sorry. We do know Walt's dad, but yeah, Dax got a hold of him.
Dax, don't. You better have a real good reason for killing my dad, Dax.
It was the mustache. He didn't like it.
Yeah. He's a dad. What other reason do I need?
So yeah, that is where we'll start our session. With this sturdy wooden door opening as some snow kind of falls off of it and warmth just rushes out of the doorway. And you see a rather large man standing there. Maybe even 8 feet tall. He's very thick, thick hands. Who knows? Not me. It's in my notes somewhere. Couldn't be bothered to find it, but he is very tall. He has very thick hands. He has very tan skin, deep wrinkles on his face, and a large, long, white beard. And you do see some traces of maybe black or gray in his beard. You could tell maybe once he had very dark hair, but not anymore. And he has very dark but kind eyes and just some raggedy hair on his head. It looks like it's mashed down from wearing a hat all day or something like that. He has some rosy cheeks, probably from the warmth of the fire inside his cabin. And he looks down at all of you, observing everyone with a big cheery smile on his face. And he says,
"Oh, right on time. Come on in."
And he just turns his back and starts lumbering into his cabin.
Wonderful. Tough rushes in there.
Yeah, thank you. And Waltz will follow.
And Jules will look at the rest standing there and shrug his shoulders and walk in.
So he's like, "Oh, I'm so cold." She steps in. You guys kind of shake the snow off of your cold weather gear, kind of just onto the wood floor. And he walks over to a stove and he just starts stirring this big pot. This is a very simple cabin. Some rather large furniture in here, I would say. The ceiling is pretty high. And there's not a lot in it, just a simple cot in the corner, a table that looks like it's been set already. There's plates on it and chairs all around and just a very warm fireplace, some firewood stacked next to it. And you instantly see the direwolf that you saw just laying on a rug near the fire.
What?
Basking in the warmth.
Oh, I thought he was the direwolf.
And as he's stirring this pot, he says,
"I'm sure you all are hungry."
You live here?
No, he's just squatting.
He's kind of tapping the spoon on the pot.
"Of course. Now, have a seat.
On purpose.
You could say that.
Huh.
Tough will have a seat as close as he can towards the fire and start trying to warm up his whiskers, break some of the icicles off. So you said you expected us. Some coordinates led us here. Can you give us an idea of what's going on, what we're doing here?
Oh, calm down, calm down. We mustn't discuss things on an empty stomach.
And he starts to gather around with the pot and just sort of like pour a bunch of beef stew into all of these bowls that were already set at the table. And you just see a lot of steam coming off of it. It looks very warm and welcoming.
Do any of you drink tea, coffee?
Coffee. As hot as you can get it.
Okay, yes.
I'll take some too, please. Jules will enter the seating area. Maybe like instinctively start to like find a seat by Tough, but then stop himself and sit a bit further away.
You see, as you did that this man was pouring your stew, and he looked at your expression and then looked at Tough, kind of like he took a mental note of what you just did, and then goes back and starts like brewing some coffee and tea.
Yeah, he might notice a bit of a somber face on Jules.
And as he's brewing the coffee, his back is towards you.
Juniper mentioned you had a run-in with our local Yeti. I'm very sorry about that.
Jules will look to the direwolf. Juniper?
She raises her head, tilts her head at you.
Junie.
I smile at her. I bet she's the nicest direwolf.
Adam knows that Juniper is the name of my dog.
She's my second favorite dog only because my dog has to be my first favorite. But
Zach, I knew that too.
So this dog won't die, is what you're saying.
This dog is invincible.
This dog will never die.
And he maybe wanders over and starts pouring up coffee for all of you.
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, warming up already. I like it.
Now, can you tell us what's going on?
He pulls out his chair and sits down as well. Kind of hears his knees pop as he sits down. He looks very, very old, but he's in like very good spirits and still pretty nimble for how old he appears, and says,
Well, you came to my house. Perhaps you could tell me why you are here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, really, we're on a journey. We've never been to this planet before, but trying to get to a specific place. We have coordinates if that's helpful, but we don't know our way around too well.
Nah, Waltz, we're already at the coordinates. That's why I'm wondering, what led us here?
So you are here because you have coordinates. Is that all?
Was searching for answers.
Aren't we all?
he's just enjoying his stew.
Well, listen, I don't mean to be rude, but what's your name?
Well, it depends on who you ask, but if you ask me, you can call me Balthazar.
We know that, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Okay, can I do a lore check or a roll or something? Because I know the name Balthazar, right, Zach?
You don't. Only Tough has heard it, technically.
Damn, okay.
Can I roll something? Because Ryan doesn't even remember where I've heard that name.
Balthazar's a keeper, I think.
Sure, you can roll me an Arcana check with a +4 circumstance bonus.
Oh, baby. 33.
Dang, dog.
Nice.
The second he says that, you tilt your head, like just this thought just races through your mind, and you remember when you were watching Arrakis talk to Gothram. This is the only time you heard this name, and it's when Gothram said to Arrakis, "And now you hide in Balthazar's phylactery." And then Arrakis said something like that. That's the only time you've heard the name, but it was spoken by Gothram. Also, I would say, because you rolled so high, and I don't know if anyone's considered this yet, but Gothram saw into all of your minds, so he technically knows the coordinates you heard as well, and knows who Balthazar is, and this guy just said he's Balthazar, and you're at the coordinates, so I don't know if that would make you, like that connection all of a sudden just would have maybe been made in your mind, and I don't know how that makes you feel.
So you're Balthazar, huh? The name Rackus mean anything to you?
Oh, of course. And what does that name mean to you?
Well, if my understanding of all the craziness that's gone on is true, well, he was a keeper hidden inside me, maybe?
You don't say.
He just smiles brightly and kind of like leans forward.
All right. Are you being cryptic on purpose?
No, of course not.
You clearly know more than we do.
You could say that about me in regards to most people, I'm afraid.
Well, we're looking for answers, like Jules said. We all came together due to mysterious circumstances, traveling through nodes that were unaligned. We're searching for answers about the keepers.
Interesting.
He leans back in his chair, and he's basically wearing like those coveralls you'd wear under like a heavy coat. And he maybe like reaches around in the pocket of like the overall sort of thing and pulls it out and lifts up a pipe.
Do you mind?
No, of course.
It helps me think.
And he like raises a pipe up and then like lights it up against the smoke and blows out a little ring and says,
Well, I will admit I was a little coy when you entered. I do know you're here about the keepers, for you all have the Elder Mark. Save for you, of course.
and he gestures to Zoki, who's just been eating her stew the whole time. What? Yeah, okay.
And this is a companion of yours, is it not?
Yes, yeah, of course. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to be rude. My name's Waltz, and I'll stand and go to shake his hand.
You're standing and he's sitting and he's like your height and he just like shakes your hand as well.
Nice to meet you, Waltz.
Feel the overwhelming strength of his grip and be like, oh, wow.
But you can still tell he's like trying not to squeeze it that hard.
Right. This is Zoki and Tough here. This is Jules, and this is Dex.
Howdy.
I raised my bowl to him.
He nods to each of you as he gestures.
Well, I'm afraid I can't tell you everything you want to know, for it is not clear if you are ready.
Ready for what?
Well, this life, I trust you know a little bit. Especially you.
And he squints at Jules.
I suspect Eddard told you more than he should have.
Well, I can't say I wouldn't mind knowing a bit more. Balthazar, are you aware of a threat coming to Kildora?
Which one?
He looks like happy when he says that. Like he's just like kind of unbothered. It's strange.
They're called the Elvirium.
Ah, yes. Yes, that is concerning indeed.
And he just blows from his pipe again.
Well, to cut to the chase, I don't know if we have a specific reason for why we're here. We each heard something in our experience with the nodes before we first met each other, and that led us here. So when we say we're looking for answers, I don't know if we have a specific question.
Well, let me make it clear. I am not a keeper, for I am something far past its time, and yours may merely be beginning. And I did not choose you, so forgive me for what I do or do not know about you. This is the first I am meeting all of you.
Far past your time. How old are you? Waltz will also be studying his pipe very curiously, maybe kind of like wanting to try it for himself.
He may see that you're looking at it and then kind of like pull it away and then just raise it up like to see if you want some.
Waltz will tilt his head like, yeah, I'll try a little bit.
Help yourself.
I'll take a little sip from the pipe. Does that affect my cognition?
You could roll me a fortitude save.
It's cocaine.
28.
No, it's basically like tobacco. You can tell it's just like kind of relaxing to the body, but not like he's not like smoking drugs or anything. But it feels good.
Waltz will relax a little bit, and any urgency that he had kind of diminishes, and he'll just enjoy this conversation. But yeah, he was asking how old he was.
He says, good question. I'm afraid I've lost count, but I am quite old, as I'm sure you can tell.
And he gestures to just how wrinkled he is and how white his beard is.
I mean, you look great. Yeah, you look great.
But don't trouble yourself with such things. It's not important. To put it simply, I am what I am, not what you see. For you see what you understand, and you cannot understand what I am.
And he pulls another drag of his pipe and just blows out another ring casually.
More cryptic crap.
Yeah, I'm not understanding any of this.
Waltz was nodding his head, following for a second, then just kind of lost him and now looks so confused.
Just has a casual Dr. Seuss rhyme at you and just moves on with his life.
But it makes sense you all would want answers. This is unordinary, the means under which you've received your marks. You see, normally it is for an individual keeper to decide how and when a disciple receives their gifts. Typically it is through a trial of some kind, though I am sure you have endured enough of those already.
And he smiles at all of you, kind of just studying like your faces.
Jules sets down his finished bowl of stew and stands up and he says, "We certainly have." And then he'll walk over to Juniper and kind of squat down by her head, but he'll just stick his hand out to like let her sniff his hand.
She sniffs your hand and maybe licks it once, and then kind of just tilts her ear towards you, looking for some scratches behind the ear.
Yeah, I'd definitely start scratching her then.
Her like lip kind of goes back towards her ear, like, oh, that feels good. And Balthazar looks over, kind of smiles, and then looks back at all of you.
But this time, the honor has fallen on me, and I am a simple being, and I think an honest discussion over stew will do just fine.
Fair enough.
Which delicious stew, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So what does that mean for us? What happens next?
Well, that is up to you. The matters we are about to discuss here are of critical importance. In a few moments, you will make a decision that will have a direct impact on the very fate of Keldora, and given that, I think it is fair you are informed of the predicament you will potentially inherit. For only death shall free you of its burden, and perhaps not even that.
And he kind of just looks off pensively into the distance when he says that.
But first, help yourself to more stew and tea and coffee. Nobody should have to endure my ramblings on an empty stomach.
I'd take some tea. I kind of over this coffee thing. No offense, stuff.
It is rather late.
And he gets up again, kind of straightens his back out when he stands, like as if sitting for just a little bit kind of made him stiff, and then he walks over and pours you up some tea as well, and then hands it to you.
Much appreciated.
Careful, it's quite hot.
Now, forgive me, Balthazar. I'm not much one for words. I'm not sure I really understood half of what you've said so far. Is there any chance I could get you to speak a little bit more plainly?
Yes, of course. The ramblings of an old man. I could bore you with enough stories to last a lifetime, so we shall focus on what is most essential.
Please do.
Should you enter into this life, more will be revealed in time, I'm sure.
And he kind of just looks at all of you, kind of making sure he has your attention.
Eyes locked.
Yeah, I've sat back down now.
First and foremost, the keepers of Keldora are charged with the protection of the realm from the most profound evils. While they do not always agree,
And you see his eyes kind of looking at Tuff and maybe back at Jules.
they have, for the most part, upheld their oath. Of course, evil will always remain, for it derives from a force far beyond the comprehension of most, but its containment is essential for that which is good to prosper. Wouldn't you agree?
And he just looks at all of you, kind of raising his hand.
Hard to argue with that.
Right, though on occasion there have been keepers that do not agree with this and think evil can be tamed, and in their attempts to do so, became the very thing they swore to destroy. Droga,
And he studies all your faces.
was one such keeper. Have you heard the name?
Yeah, back on Dracus.
What is this Droga? Or who?
I'm sure he's got a better explanation than I do. I just know it's bad news.
Well, in his time, the original magic flowed freely, and he, Droga, harnessed far beyond what one of his origin should, and crafted a weapon he dubbed the Elder Blade. With it, he sought to tame the dragons of Dracus at the height of their reign. Imagine what power that would take.
And he kind of like looks at all you and he says that, just kind of hoping that you're understanding the gravity of what he's talking about at this moment. Like, he's pretty casual, but he just wants you to understand what he's saying is not just like a hand wavy like power that he's talking about. And he continues, in his mind, it was to protect Keldora, but such power quickly corrupts. The keepers of the time sought my help, though my nature would not allow me to kill Droga, but what I could do was remove the Elder Mark, so that when he was killed, he himself could not choose his successor. I was much younger at the time, and even still it took nearly everything I had to do so. Fortunately, the dragons were able to destroy Droga's body, but even they could not kill him outright, for he possessed a unnatural affinity over death. Instead, they trapped his spirit within Dracus's core in hopes of limiting his ethereal influence. Afterwards, the Keepers dismantled the Elder Blade to the point its magic would allow and scattered its components across Keldora, and erased their locations from their memories, so nobody would be tempted to wield it again. He takes a moment to maybe like reload his pipe as he prepares for another smoke.
The Elder Blade, huh? Well, I don't know if Gothram means anything to you, but I've heard he's after that.
Yes, Gotham means a great deal to me. He's, well, he's the worst, actually, I would say.
Amen.
I'd say like Jules audibly laughs at that.
I'm with you there, Balthazar.
And he lights up his pipe and blows out some more smoke.
Anyways, thousands of years later, in the Age of Formation, the Durga,
And he looks at all of you, wondering if maybe you know that Gotham is Durga, kind of connecting the thing you just brought up.
unearthed Durga's prison, unleashing his spirit upon Dracus. He soon aligned himself with one of these Durga, Gothram Stonefist. And surely, this is a name you know. Droga granted Gothram a portion of his power, and in the chaos of the displacement centuries later, a dying keeper mistakenly viewed this power as an asset, not knowing from where it derived, and gave him the Elder Mark. No doubt, infiltrating the keepers was part of Droga's scheme.
He just kind of sighs like there's where a lot of things went wrong. Like he just wishes people knew what was going on at the time.
Surprisingly, Gotham accomplished many good things as a keeper, helping to fend off otherworldly threats that flooded Caldora after the displacement, all of which only fed into Droga's ruse, I'm afraid. Eventually, it was discovered that Gotham had been attempting to reconstruct the Elder Blade in secret, in hopes of one day stopping a grave threat,
And he gestures to Jules.
known as the Alvirium, and the Keepers confronted him. Gotham could no longer hide his true nature, an unquenchable lust for power and a desire to rule Caldora as he saw fit, just like his master. Gotham refused to surrender his vision, and the Keepers had no choice but to kill him, a devastating battle that occurred in Gotham's secret stronghold on Dracus.
And he kind of just nods to Dax when he says that.
For centuries, the Keepers scoured the realm for Gotham's successor, as the old magic required to remove him of his right to choose no longer existed. However, a disciple never emerged, and they thought his mark had been lost forever, until Gotham himself re-emerged, imbued with even greater power, and he began hunting the Keepers indiscriminately.
And again, he looks at you like making sure you're understanding. Like he's saying Gotham came back from the dead and is hunting keepers.
Again, on Dracus, Gotham successfully killed Renathor, who was perhaps the most powerful keeper at the time, for she was a sorcerer of exceptional prowess. The remaining keepers, Eddard, Arrakis, Seraphine, Baodin, and Kaitos, went into hiding as they tried to make sense of Gotham's existence. They were troubled to learn that Renathor's mark also did not resurface, and the threat became clear. Droga, residing within Dracus's ethereal plane, had intercepted Gotham's spirit in death and returned him to the material, still bearing his elder mark. Renathor was likely intercepted as well, though she would never serve Droga, meaning her spirit is either imprisoned or annihilated along with her elder mark, unless Droga somehow managed to claim it for himself.
So he's essentially saying that Droga, in death, in the ethereal plane, is intercepting other spirits that have died, Gotham being one of them, and restoring him to life. And when Gotham killed another keeper, and they were in the ethereal plane, which is normally where they would go find a successor, she was also taken captive by Droga. So that elder mark, he's saying, is lost. So that's at least one other keeper that can't exist right now. So 2 marks are accounted for, one being Gotham and one being this Renathor. So that only leaves 5 remaining.
When you say the Elder Mark is missing, does that mean permanently? Like it can't be restored?
Perhaps. You see, and again, should you enter this life, you will learn more, but the Keepers were born in a time of old magic. This mark they carry cannot be created again with the magic we have now. If this Renathor was destroyed in the ethereal, then so too was her mark. If she is imprisoned, perhaps it still exists, or even worse, it's possible Droga has reclaimed this mark for himself in some way, and we just don't know what he's doing with it. Either way, all of these are bad news. It's one less keeper in Caldora.
So if we believe this stuff about the four of us becoming the next keepers, or that elder mark being passed down to us, there's a fifth one out there we should be aware of?
I'm afraid there may not be a fifth keeper anymore.
Jules will look down and look back at him and say, Ryu?
I do not know Ryu, but perhaps your questions will be answered. Shall I continue?
Tuff will breathe out a sigh and then just lay his head back and rest it on the direwolf's butt.
She looks back and is just like sniffing your faux hair.
Tough, I thought you hated dogs.
Oh, this stinks. And Tuff will sit back up.
The keepers, having discovered the mark did not resurface, realized they could not risk locating a successor from the ethereal as they always have, in fear that Droga may claim their spirit and their mark. And they needed a way to bind their spirits to the material to remain out of Droga's reach should Gotham eventually kill them. It was then they sought my help once again, asking me to conjure what little magic I had remaining to construct a phylactery, or soul cage, and he kind of looks at your core, Tough. A device capable of housing their spirits in death, safely affording them a chance to find their successors.
So you created the phylactery that Raucus was inside of, which was placed inside of me, but Dunadast was the one to create me.
Yes, He's like kind of looking at your core. It looks a little different than when I made it. I'm not sure what Dunadas did with it per se, but it was once a phylactery. He may have channeled the unique energy and given you life.
And he looks at you, kind of telling that you're a different automaton.
Did you know Dunadast?
I knew of Dunadast, but I've never had the pleasure, I'm afraid.
So I guess what I'm trying to understand is, did Dunadast put the phylactery in Tuff?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Well, so how did Dunadast get access to the phylactery that you made holding Raucus and put it inside of me?
How should I know? I made it and gave it to Raucus, and after which it was his to do as he pleased. It seems like Dunadast may have found it and made a rather incredible discovery.
Tuff will look aggravated. Yeah, and now we'll probably never know.
Perhaps.
And after saying that, Tuff will lay his head back on the dog again and then remember how bad it smelled. Ugh! And then he'll just change spots completely.
Balthazar continues.
Likewise, they also asked me to be the final judge of their successors, as you are perhaps the most important keepers in Caldora's storied history. Gotham is hunting keepers, Droga is annihilating their spirits in the Alvarium. A force of pure evil is on Caldora's doorstep. If you fail,
and he looks at Tuff again,
if you turn on one another, it could be the doom of us all. You may well represent our final hope. Your friend, who you mentioned, Ryu, I believe he was chosen by Kaitos, and Kaitos has died. And Gotham managed to destroy his soul cage soon after he passed the mark, meaning the marks you four carry are all that remain, and I soon shall pass myself, and Caldora will truly be in your hands.
So he's literally saying, like, the Keepers seem to have understood that the threats they're facing are so profound that the Keepers selected to succeed them need essentially an additional review beyond just one individual Keeper picking them, because that's gone wrong in the past. And Balthazar also seems to be implying the importance of your unity, since there's so few of you remaining, and also clearly what has happened when they don't agree, with like Gotham turning to evil and Droga turning to evil, and basically there's not much help beyond you guys. And he basically implied whatever help he does provide won't be here much longer.
Well, if it required all these Keepers to fight off these evil forces in the past, and we're down Keepers now, sounds like we need something like the Elder Blade. Why not just let it be made?
He leans forward and looks at you like very serious. He hasn't been serious like this entire time.
Tuff will just awkwardly like jut his head back like he is getting uncomfortably close.
Did you not hear what I said about power corrupting one's very soul?
Well, sure, but something powerful isn't innately evil.
Funny, Gothram said the same thing, and that is what drove him to kill his friends.
Yeah, well, I know someone else who believed the same thing too, and he believed in using powerful magic for good. And Tuff will hold the Arcanor on his chest.
Yes, the Arcanor. What happened with the Arcanor on Nisireen? Do you remember?
So I'm guessing that means you know what happened to it, but that just proves my point. It could have been used for evil, but now it's being used for good. I just made one recently, and it helped to save a civilization. Well, and myself.
He leans back in his chair.
For now.
I think Tuff will then just also sit back again and contemplate.
So, Balthazar, I think you mentioned that the keepers choose their successor at the time of the death. Is that correct?
You see him like still looking at Tuff, and like kind of what he was saying was when he said for now is Tuff is already speaking like Gothram, and if he's saying the fact that he made an Arcanor in his chest and saved his life and that was a good thing, it could just as easily be a bad thing. So he's more just saying like you shouldn't be so careless with like how you view things are so absolute, and he's kind of just lingering his eyes on you to show you like how serious he is, whether Tuff picks up on that or not. And
Wait, you're saying he's making us be careful about how things are absolute?
so you've already sounded like Gotham to him in this very short time.
Right.
And
Right.
you're saying, well, I did this good thing with this thing. And that's basically what Gotham would say. And when he says for now, he means like, well, if you made an Arcanor in your chest to keep you alive, and then you turn out to be another Gotham, then was it a good thing? And that's why I said for now. So he's just saying you don't know what's going to happen, which also in Dunedast's defense is like why he was willing to sacrifice himself. He's like, I can't guarantee this or that. Like he's saying sometimes you got to make hard choices and you can't just assume you know everything always, you know? And responding to Jules's question, he says,
Well, it occurs sometime after death. Your keepers were exceptionally thorough this time, knowing the importance of selecting the right ones. They have been dead for decades, but it seems they have all agreed to select their successors now, and it seems they sent you on a bit of a trial themselves, sending you to Nisireen.
So when I met Eddard before, he'd already been gone. And he kind of looks off.
Yes, bound to his soul cage.
And what do these soul cages look like?
I wouldn't tell you. It's only for the keeper to know. It's to ensure it is safe.
Fair enough. Well, I've come to know that mine is Eddard. It sounds like this raucous fellow is Tuff's. What of Dax and Malt? What can you tell us of their keepers?
he looks to you, Jules, and he says,
I do not know everything, spending so much time in my humble cabin, but I can sense much, and let it be known that Raucus is also no more. It seems Gotham has gotten to him as well.
And you guys already kind of know this because he absorbed his spirit. And he looks to Tuff and kind of tilts his head.
Meaning, should you die or not accept your elder mark, it too will be lost forever. Because Raucus does not remain to pass it on again. Do you understand?
Basically, he's saying, like, you were picked by Raucus. Raucus is like, here's my elder mark. And then right after after he did that, Gotham absorbed Raucus's spirit, meaning if you like reject the mark or die like before taking the oath to be able to pass it on yourself, then the mark is just gone.
So it's not that if anybody denies the elder mark, it's lost. It's because he was absorbed. It can't go back to him, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
So because Raucus was absorbed by Gotham, you're saying if I reject this elder mark, it's lost forever, huh? No pressure or anything.
Indeed.
And as for your keepers, and he looks at Waltz and Dax,
I will not spoil the fun of you meeting them yourselves, for they will be with you for a time. But,
and he looks at Waltz,
Beodin,
and he looks at Dax.
and Seraphine, some of the best keepers I have ever known.
Well, I can't wait to meet them.
And also, I would say, Tuff, it's also implied if you do become a keeper, you don't have Raucus to talk to because he's gone. But their keepers have soul cages, phylacteries, whatever you want to call them still, and may be able to counsel them in some way.
Alone again.
And Balthazar leans back, blowing rings out of his pipe, and says,
So I trust you've known at least some of this for some time and have been able to ponder if you are willing to become these keepers. If you are, I will tell you what to do next, but surely you understand how important it is for you all to work together. So I simply must ask, do the four of you trust one another? And he looks at all of you.
Oh, damn.
No.
Balthazar tilts his head. Oh?
Waltz will just look to Dax and Jules and then set his gaze on Tough.
He follows your gaze and looks at Tough as well.
Tough will sigh and put his elbows on his knees, hoping he wasn't going to have to address this and just be able to do this keeper thing. Well, it's just that some of us are a little bit less than trustworthy.
Jules is looking down at the moment.
Dax will just kind of glance from person to person and say, yeah, some trust has been lost between some of us.
Well, then I must also ask, who is it that does not trust who?
Well, to be honest, I don't know if I trust Tough.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, damn, Waltz.
At least not in this current state.
And what is Tough's current state?
There's a feud going on right now, and it's caused quite a divide in the team. And I know that when there's this much tension, people can react a little bit chaotically.
Dax, do you trust Tough?
Dax strokes his chin, looking up. You can tell he's genuinely pondering this, trying to figure out if he does trust Tough. And he'll say, you know, when it comes down to it, I think if we were in a life or death situation, I think Tough would do the right thing.
Tough will kind of like shoot a look at Dax, like he doesn't believe he said that.
Tough, you could have left at any point. You could have slit my throat the moment I fell asleep. You could have ended this so many times, and you haven't. And although tensions are understandably at an all-time high, I think when it comes down to it, in your core or heart or whatever you want to call it, Tough, you do the right thing.
Tough, initially wanting to get argumentative and heated after what Waltz had said, believing himself to be the only one truly trustworthy amongst this group, just kind of falls silent after hearing what Dax said, and is just kind of like in his own emotions right now, trying to understand things.
It's hard to trust anybody who doesn't want to be a part of this team. So, Tough, do you want to be a part of this team? And if the answer is no, I understand. There's no love lost, my friend. But I cannot trust you. Not with the life of my friends at stake, and many others.
Tough, after having just been looking down and thinking for a while, thinking about how to answer Waltz, will just look up at Jules.
Jules will sense Tough's gaze and look at him and look him right in the eye. Tough, I trust you more than anyone here. You and I have been through so much together. And the situation that we are faced with at the moment is not an easy one to navigate. But I know you to your core. And as Dax has said, when it comes down to it, I know you to do the right thing.
Tough will look back to Waltz and say, I don't think I have a good answer for you right now. But, Balthazar, after we do whatever it is we need to do to become keepers, and maybe to the rest of you too, what is our objective after that?
Balthazar was stroking his beard while you guys are talking, and he says,
Tough, I'm afraid you don't understand. I have been entrusted with being the final judge of who is to become keepers, and I have conveyed the importance of why we must get this right. I do not owe you any explanation of what it is you will be doing, for you are the ones to decide. This realm is not mine to protect, it is yours. But I cannot fulfill my purpose or nature if I were to entrust you with an elder mark when you do not trust them. I would potentially be creating an even worse problem and dooming Keldora. It would be better for your mark to be lost forever than to risk you tearing apart the keepers from within. And that is all I have to say on this matter. Do you trust them, and do you all trust each other?
Does Tough know what it means to get an Elder's Mark, like to become a keeper? Like what does that do?
well, for one, you know you can travel the nodes freely, but beyond that, you do not know. And he doesn't owe you any explanation because you guys may not be keepers, so why would he divulge secrets to you?
Right.
True. So you're saying even if I asked, he probably wouldn't say?
Yeah, it seems like this is a precursor to any other like further knowledge we would get. Like step one is this, you know?
It would make sense for Tough to be curious.
Yeah, for sure. This is a spicy session. I like this session. This one's fun.
And what reason would I have to accept the mark of a keeper anyway?
Someone has to bear this burden, Tough. But I do not owe you any further explanation, for what you ask is information for keepers, of which you are not yet. So I ask again, do you all trust each other?
He looks to Dax, Jules, and Waltz.
If only you three are to be keepers, then so be it. But I must know.
And I'm not joking. Like, I don't care. Pick what you want. But he's not going to let Tough be a keeper if he's got a problem with these people. Like, straight up.
Right.
Right. That's kind of
What does that mean?
You can ask him.
Balthazar, what does it mean if he does not become a keeper?
He looks and says,
They will not be entrusted with their gifts, their powers, their knowledge, or be expected to carry their burden. He can go about his days doing as he pleases, whatever that may be.
Jules will look to Tough and nod his head and say, then that's enough for me. And he'll stand up and face Balthazar and say, I'm ready.
with or without Tough. Just make it clear what you meant by that.
Yeah. How do you feel? Are you only in it if Tough is in it too?
Yes and no. I think it's kind of like Jules is trying to call Tough's bluff.
Yeah.
And maybe try to like just like he said, like he knows when it comes down to it, he'll do the right thing. So he's like hoping that if he goes through, moves forward with it, that that we all do that he'll join us. But I guess he's just like taking that gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%, which makes sense, like, because you know him more than anybody else, so you're more like 90-10, like, yeah, I know he's good for it, where we don't know him that well, you know what I mean?
Right. Also, Jules' sense of adventure, like this is like an opportunity that's hard for him to pass up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
He feels the responsibility of it too. So there's a part of him too that's like, one, like his curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is kind of some downtime talk.
Sure.
So maybe we should save it.
But if it helps you guide your decision or what you say next, I think it's...
I just don't know, like with or without Tough feels like that's harsh. Like I'm like, I don't want to say that because I feel like that's like a disconnection.
Sure.
But
it is the
like,
rift. Like harsh is okay. Like tough conversations definitely need to be had right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess in Jules's mind, like if Tough ultimately doesn't want to do this, like it's not like he's going to no longer be his friend or anything like that.
Right.
He just feels that sense of responsibility. It was like, well, I was chosen to step up. And if Tough was out of the equation, if we never knew each other, then he would step up for sure. So
I might have a question I could ask if you don't want to commit
sure.
to your answer
Yeah.
yet.
But that makes sense, right?
No,
like
absolutely.
why I wouldn't want to say that, because that sounds like
No,
I don't care if he doesn't.
Yeah, it's tough because like he's your best friend. Like it's a tough. We're definitely on like a big decision point, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, tough for you to want to be a part of this team. What else would have to happen?
Tough will stand up and look at the group. Let's get one thing straight, Waltz. If there's any trust that needs to be earned, it's you all to me. I have fought fang and nail against Gothram to save La Ciudad de los Nubes, to protect my friends. Dax killed Dunadast, someone you all called a friend. He's worked with Gothram in the past, whether knowingly or not. Juldas betrayed my trust as a friend. And Waltz, you're choosing to put trust in Dax, who has done all these things, and vilify me for not being able to trust someone like that.
Nobody's vilifying you, Tough, but this is a matter of trust.
Then why are you saying I'm not the trustworthy one? I saved your life. We fought together. Everything I've done has been for the greater good.
And Dax and Jules have done the same for you, yet you don't trust them.
Well, the responsibility of being a keeper, of saving Keldora, is enough for me to try. And Tough will walk over to Dax and put a hand out to help him up.
Ooh. Dax will lock eyes with Tough and reach his hand out, grab Tufts for that help up, and say, "You're right, we owe it to Keldora to try."
Listen, guys, I'm not saying we're not going to try either way, but I don't know if I trust this much power to somebody with so much anger.
Yeah, I think it's because you said try, where you're like, I'll see, but if you piss me off, I'm going to, like, that's what it sounds like.
Right.
to me. That's how I
Try
took it.
is like 50-50, and that's that's a flip of a coin to me.
Yeah.
I guess.
Which is totally okay, but I'm just saying, like, that's how he feels. Like, he wants a commitment that this is kind of, that you want to be a part of this team.
Well, I guess this is going back to what I was saying before, where Tough is feeling like you're literally just saying, get over it and be a part of the team.
Right.
But that's what he's asking us. To Waltz, he's thinking like, all right, there's still obviously a lot of anger. You're telling us that we need to trust you, when that seems a little tyrannical to Waltz, and that's his hesitation.
But do you see like what Tough like literally just explained?
Oh,
that
sure.
like you're saying right now that you fully trust Dax after all this like bad stuff that he did, and Jules, who like lied to him about it, but you're calling Tough the one that you're having trouble trusting right now because he doesn't trust the people that just did all this bad stuff to him.
Okay, maybe this will, because Waltz doesn't necessarily see these things as like bad that they did. Like Waltz completely gets where they're coming from. Waltz is just saying that he doesn't think they did that maliciously. Like they didn't do that to hurt you. We still had a mission to accomplish.
Tough knows that at this point. He knows that they were just, like, but he doesn't agree with the decision making that was done.
Yeah.
Sure.
The difficulty he's having trusting is because Dak, even if Dax thought it was the right thing to do, the right thing to do in his mind was to kill Dunadas, kill your guy's friend, and then Jules never told him about it. That's what Tough has a problem with, trusting. How do I know if we work together as a team, if we run into that situation, Dak's not going to be like, oh shoot, Tough needs to die for the greater good, and then just kill Tough or Jules or Waltz.
Yeah, but it wasn't a decision that, like, it was Dunadas' decision to me. So it's like, he didn't do that because it was his decision. He's like, sorry, Dunadas, I got to kill you. He was like, well, this is Dunadas' decision. It just happened to fall on Dax's shoulders that he had to deal with it. Because it very easily
Dax
could have
just
fell
trusted
on.
Dunadas mostly is what it was.
Right.
Sure,
like that's how I'm kind of looking at it. And I'm not saying you're wrong about any of this either.
Well, and
I think
because
there's
Tough is going to be more jaded about it because it's his dad, but Tough sees himself in that situation. If Dunadas said, sacrifice me for the greater good, Tough would have said absolutely not.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's totally justified. And I'm not saying you're not justified. I just think that's where there's a disconnect between our characters that is like leading to this feud.
Sure.
And maybe we don't agree. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. I'm just saying that's what Waltz is struggling with, is when there's this much anger and distrust, and a large amount of power is about to be entrusted to someone like that, it very easily could turn into vengeance, and now you have power.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's all I'm saying. So that, like, he just doesn't trust that right now. I don't mean to be like rude about this.
No, you're good. Like, it totally makes sense what you're feeling, but I'm just not knowing what we do moving forward.
I don't know
with
either.
that info.
I have no idea. I don't have an answer for you.
I think you're all justified. I think what Tough is saying is like, I'm gonna try. Maybe if Dax and Jules accept that, then Waltz would be like, all right, because you trust Jules and Tough, or Jules and Dax, and maybe just kind of like go with it. But also Waltz could be like, well, if Tough's in, then I'm out. Like you could all do that.
Yeah. I guess I would almost wonder like how Balthazar is reacting after kind of like Tough's last statement, because he kind of made a analogy to Gotham as well. And so how does he even, like, after that, does he trust him? Like, would he even be like, yeah, okay, that's good enough for me?
I think ultimately he's gonna wait to see what all of you say, and then he grants it. It's not like he's not like chiming in. He wants to see what you guys all agree on, but he has final say.
Yeah.
I guess just based on what's been said by Walt so far, Tough is very much feeling like nobody is validating his feelings right now, and that you are like, I'm on their side. Like, I don't trust you.
I
still.
think we've all already said it. Waltz is saying it's not about validating your feelings. It's about that you hate Dax because of it. Dax doesn't hate
Right.
you. Nobody hates you. Nobody's going to try and kill you.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have hate in your heart is what he's saying. And he doesn't know
Like,
if he wants you in the group with that much power. And that's all that's about. It's not that no one thinks you're justified to think it.
It's just that.
It's just
right.
that.
But I will say this though, in Tough's defense, it's been 12 days since all this like went down. But the issue is like, we're here now, we have to do this now. And so like, if this like happened in real life, or if it was like some sort of relational thing where like there was a bit of mistrust, like you got to rebuild that. So you can't just expect the person that felt betrayed to just be like, yeah, okay, fine, yeah, it's all good.
Right,
You know,
but
like there's you gotta build up to it.
To me, it goes with the same thing. Like, if I have like the button for a nuke, right? I shouldn't have that button if I'm really angry. I should probably not have it when I'm emotionally unstable. And that's what I'm saying is like, I can't trust power to somebody who's emotionally not stable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think we're just like at an impasse here because it hasn't been very long.
Right.
Where it would be maybe a little quick for Tough to just completely let stuff go.
Yeah.
But if he stays down this path, then yeah, that's super dangerous and that's not good. So we just gotta like, we're just at a crossroads. We're like, I can't blame
No,
Tough
absolutely.
for still being upset
100%.
and hoping that he'll, we'll work things out. But also, like, this is a big responsibility. So,
Yeah, because of how Tough feels about it, like not knowing if Dax could end up doing this again or something like that. I don't know what Tough can say right now because Tough himself doesn't fully feel like he can trust because he doesn't know if that could end up happening again.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Balthazar, I'm committed to becoming a keeper for the greater good of Keldora. But if you're asking me if today, right now, I trust Tough with that much power, my answer is no.
Balthazar's been stroking his beard this entire time, looking at all of you. Looks very serious. And he's scanning all your faces. And anyone here tell me if what he is inferring in his own mind is wrong. He gets the sense that Waltz, Jules, and Dax trust each other with their lives and have no fear of anyone doing anything malicious towards one another.
Right.
this is correct.
Correct.
He also gets the sense that Waltz does not trust Tough, as he explicitly said, and that Jules has a history with Tough and knows him, and out of love for him, believes that he will do the right thing.
This is correct.
And that Dax wants to put this all past him and wants to let Tough know there's no hard feelings, but wouldn't be confident in saying that Tough wouldn't turn on him one day, but so far has seen that he will save him or put his life on the line for him, right?
He's had plenty of opportunity already to.
But you don't necessarily believe or know him well enough to believe that the hate in his heart wouldn't fester per se.
Sure.
And that Tough will try to forgive Dax. And that Tough isn't quite ready to out loud say, I forgive Dax, and that you even fully trust Dax. You've made it clear you don't trust him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Anakin Skywalker in episode 2. He's not evil yet, but we all know how that turned out. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, don't.
Yes. Balthazar leans forward and looks at all of you again and says,
Tough, you will carry this elder mark with you until the day you die. And when you die, the mark will be lost forever. It is only yours to claim. But I will not let you claim it this day. Not while there is hate in your heart, whether you want to call it that or not.
Oh.
I have been entrusted with a great burden, and it is a burden I do not take lightly. You will remember the knowledge of these coordinates, and you will remember what has happened with Jules and Dax and Waltz and Zoki.
Zoki's just kind of been silently watching the whole time. It's so tense.
And you will even remember what I have said here. And should you find it in your heart to forgive, you know where to find me.
Tough will sigh. Having the knowledge of a keeper and whatever powers or whatever come along with that would have been great, but sounds like I'm figuring out on my own anyway. And then Tough will start making his way towards the door. Juldas, Waltz, hopefully you don't get yourselves killed around him. And Tough will leave.
Tough, as you open the door, Balthazar says,
Tough.
Tough will stop before he walks out and turn his ear.
and you're getting hit by this cold air, which just sounds miserable. You don't even know where to go or how to survive. And he says,
If you could be anywhere in all Keldora right now, where would it be?
Tough thinks back to the greatest time in his life with Dunadas, and probably on par to spending time with Jules on Aquaria, and can think of only one word to describe those places, that feeling: home.
So it is.
and he tilts his head, and you all see Tough just turn into snow that drifts out the doorway.
Tough, wait!
Oh,
Tough.
jeez.
I'll run to where he was standing.
He's gone.
Wait, so he just vanished? Whew.
Jules is staring at the winter wilderness outside, and he'll close the door and he'll turn around. Where did he go?
Home.
And Jules will look down and maybe try to think of what that would mean. One of the last conversations, it actually might have been the last actual conversation he had with Tough. He promised him that he'd never leave him behind. And he feels really torn right now because he wasn't expecting this outcome.
No.
And he also feels somewhat like forced, not necessarily like forced to become a keeper, but like forced to not be able to like stay true to his word and not leave his friend behind, if that makes sense. But he won't explain that verbally. That's just kind of what he's thinking about, hoping that he's somewhere safe and that maybe he can find him. So Jules will then join back with the rest of the group.
Holy smokes.
This all is weighing pretty heavily on Dax. I mean, he obviously feels responsible for the whole inter-party conflict now. I mean, it of course stems from Dunadast, but also with roping Jules into it, maybe if he hadn't done that, then Tuff would just be mad at Dax, and that would be enough to that wouldn't be as insurmountable of an obstacle. So I don't know that Dax says anything. He's kind of just, his mind is racing right now, trying to think of the implications of Tuff not becoming a keeper right now and having one fewer in the party, as he just kind of waits to see what happens next.
He sees all of you kind of troubled by that and says,
Tuff is okay. Trust me. I'm sure you will see him again. Now, are the three of you ready to bear this burden?
Yeah.
Dax will look left at Jules, look right at Waltz, and say, let's do this.
Balthazar leans forward. Very well. And he turns over his large hand, and just like all of a sudden he's holding what looks kind of like little discs made of stone. And immediately you see in the center of this stone is the encircled star. So that stone doorway you saw when you traveled through the node, that sigil is actually bared on like a much smaller item than you expected. And he reaches out his hand and says, take these.
I grab it.
Hesitantly, Dax will reach forward and grab one.
I'll grab one as well.
And as each of you grab them, they begin to take various shapes and sizes. And if you would prefer it to be an amulet or a ring or even a belt buckle or something like that, it just begins to take the shape and size most fitting to you, or a bracer or anything like that. So you may decide what yours is.
Waltz will make his into a necklace, like a chain.
With a pendant?
Yeah, but an unbreakable chain that you can never steal from me.
Oh, okay. Keep that in mind.
That's a good idea. I'm going to say that for mine too. Oh, wait.
Well, you can have mine.
Looking down at the dagger holster Dax wears diagonally across his chest, his first thought is a buckle for that. So kind of right dead center of his chest is going to be this symbol.
Jules' takes the form of a bracer that he puts on his wrist.
And this all sort of intuitively happens as if it knows like your thoughts and desires and even style, it seems like. Pretty cool, huh? And it's the exact
Nice.
size. And as Balthazar observes these take their shape and you don them, he says,
If you wear this and speak the Keeper's Creed, it will be done. And if it is so, ensure Gothram does not take yours, for it leads to the Keeper's Keep, where his is locked away.
and he looks down at the table and words start being etched into the table like almost in glowing ember in the form of a creed. And at first, you cannot read it, though your ring or bracer or buckle begins to glow, and you feel knowledge flood into your brain and suddenly realize you can read Elder. And Balthazar says,
This creed is an elder, so you cannot lie.
and as it forms before you, he says,
Merely read the words from your heart, and it will be done.
and I have pulled up this creed before you, and if you all are ready, you may read it together and perhaps say the first line together, and it's a long one, so you may have to alternate and kind of wrap it up together. But if you guys are ready to become keepers, let's do it.
I swear, as Galdora's keeper, to shine a light upon the ancient dark,
To defend the weak from evil's mark,
To protect the realm from threats unseen,
and
all else wicked that lay between.
And as you all say that, you begin to glow, and the room starts to shake as wind swirls around you, and your eyes glow a bright white. Zoki's like, oh, what the? And you see Balthazar, and he stands up for a moment and like kind of flickers his hand, and then you see the ceiling like disappear, and he looks to Zoki and said,
I almost forgot.
and then all of you feel like you're ripped from the floor and sent rippling across the stars like you just activated a node. And as you tear away, Balthazar simply flicks his hand and the roof returns. And then he sits down and brushes off his cloak and begins to eat his stew. And Zoki's like, And you guys just rip across the system of Keldora until you're sent lurching to another stop and look down and realize you are standing on a node. Although this node does not look like the other nodes. It bears the sigil of an encircled star that matches the artifact you are now wearing, and you slowly turn your heads and observe a massive, ancient-looking keep with the stars behind it and nebulas painted across the sky. It looks massive, but even in some ways war-torn, and its extensive labyrinth of tunnels and towers and cascading patches of land, and then realize you are standing on a massive, unearthed piece of land floating in space, and slowly turn your heads and see a rippling field around you, almost preserving the environment you are within. And as you look upon this massive vista of space, you see the planets of Keldora that now rest in your hands.
Whoa.
What?
And
Wow.
I don't have time to dive into that now, because on one of these planets, under the same stars, we find Zig trudging up a dune towards his master, Gothram. That sure would have been easier if you made me Drozat. As he kind of winds his shoulder as if he's in some sort of pain. And Gothram looks to him and says, "If you were Drozat, then you would belong to Droga." "Would that be so bad?" "Yes." Zig looks puzzled, knowing that Gothram belongs to Droga, and pauses for a moment, shakes his head, and pulls out a red vial. "Well, Droga powers or not, she's dead. Put up quite a fight, though." And he tosses the vial, and Gothram snags it out of the air and twists it in his hand, observing it as a blue flicker of light dances across his eyes, and the corner of his mustache raises subtly. "Well done, Zig. Reliable as always." And Gotham's subtle amusement quickly fades as a chilling breeze brushes across their backs. Gotham turns his head with a furrowed brow and stares aimlessly into the darkness. "The camel toe clouds my sight. Are you sure this is the way?" Zig, confused. "What?" He raises his brow as he follows Gotham's gaze and detects a nearby shadow sprawled across the sand, unanchored by a body. Zig recoils in fear as the ominous shadow creeps forward, leaving no footsteps in its wake.
"You have left us no other choice."
Zig's eyes grow wide as he begins to tremble. Droga! And he falls to his knees and bows his head, nearly kissing the sand. Gotham stares calmly at Zig, bowing before the shadow, and turns to meet it with raised eyes as if he can see its owner. "The Fangdom is strong and united. If we fail, we may need them to fight the Alvirium."
Fight, so even you fail to grasp how desperate we truly are. There is no fighting the Alvirium. Not once they are here. Not if we fail.
"But this is what Sindor wanted, and he was on their side. I will not serve them. We need a better plan." The shadow stretches across the sand until it looms over Gotham. Jagged wings unfurl from its back as wind swirls around them both.
We had one, but you made a pact with the enemy.
Gotham lifts his chin, defiant, as the shadow begins to drift around him. "I am upholding my oath, always."
Yes, but which one? I know you are up to something. You have too many allegiances to be loyal to just me.
Gotham remains silent, standing tall before Droga.
Do not forget, Durga. The moment your burden outweighs your value, I will destroy what remains of your soul, and not even the Flora de Vida can reverse that.
Gotham flinches subtly at the thought of Droga's promise and bows his head in submission. "And what of the crone? Such an unnatural counter will make her our enemy." Droga's wings retreat.
Perhaps in this we may be fortunate. Balthazar remains Fear of him may keep her at bay.
Gothram nods and examines the vial once again, burdened by curiosity and concern.
I only have the blood of his mother to guide the spell. Surely it will drain what remains of the Flora de Vida within me.
You already traded the Flora de Vida for the Elder Blade, so let him get it.
Another breeze sweeps across the sands as the shadow fades into darkness. Gothram exhales, relieved by Droga's departure, as Zig climbs to his feet, scouring the sand for his shadow.
I thought Drogo was bound to Drakis. How is he here? His power is growing. How? Everyone sent to the ethereal in his name is his for the taking. It fuels him. That's why I will not make you Drozat. Now, enough questions. Do not let Droga distract you from why we are here.
Zig stands in awe, contemplating Droga's power. Gothram prepares himself, closing his eyes and taking a deep exhale as blue Flora de Vida fumes exhaust from his nostrils. He opens his eyes, now ablaze with the same energy that cuts brilliantly through the night. He crushes the vial of blood within his hand and begins to whisper in a language Zig cannot understand, as energy pulses continually from Gotham's feet, sending ripples across the sand. Zig backs away as he mutters,
I'm glad I'm on his side.
Gothram then blows gently as the blood in his hand turns into blue mist that swirls suspended in the air, slowly converging on a single point before him as it begins to take the vague shape of a body that sparks and flashes vibrantly before igniting in a brilliant eruption of light, causing Zig to turn away.
What the?
And as the sand settles, Gothram stares at the newly conjured body, crouched before him with smoke singeing from their shoulders. Standing firm before the figure, he says,
Unbound, indeed. Where am I?
Home. Ryu, you are observing your body.
What?
Confused with fragmented memories racing through your brain, slowly coming back, trying to find a complete connection, but you simply vaguely remember dying, what feels like ages ago.
I should be dead. Why am I here?
You notice Gothram and Zig are already walking away as you said that, as if they're unconcerned with what you do next. But Gothram pauses briefly, looking over his shoulder and says,
To fulfill your destiny.
As he continues on into the darkness.
What? Hey, get back here. Who are you?
Angry and confused, you stand to your feet and pause as you notice blue and purple lights shimmering across the sand, and you slowly raise your head to Desolace's night sky and look upon a ley line. And that is where we'll end our season. We're so freaking back. It's the end of the season, guys.
Season 2, baby.
Season 2. That's a wrap.
You guys want to start season 3?
Duff.
Let's go
Let's
start
talk
season
about
3.
it.
Man, who says
guys
that?
wanna-
Let Ryan play. He gets 2 characters now. What the
Yeah, what the heck?
What am I supposed
Yeah,
to do
how
with
is that going to work?
We should
'Cause
talk about
Cub's
it right
obviously
now.
going to realize that he just needs to
Yeah, you know what?
forgive and
Hey,
forget.
Hey, hold
and-
on, Adam.
What?
Yeah?
What?
Hey.
What? Yeah?
This is going to be a big one because I need it to last you
Uh-huh.
in between seasons. But everybody, shut up, because
Ah!
we're going to talk about the downtime, which is for patrons. Where we react to the most recent episode. That's what that's for, guys.
That was this
So
one. We
everybody
just did
shut
that.
up. Yeah, guys,
Ooh.
we're probably going on a break. We haven't figured out how long yet, but we're going on a break. We'll let you know, and we'll be back, okay? But, man, what a fun season. We'll talk about it in the downtime. I just want to read a couple comments we've seen online about the show.
You always say a couple and you always read one.
Let's do Season 2, Episode 26, Breaking Point. Caleb commented, great episode as always. The metal at the very end was very cool touch. Hope we get to hear more next episode. Hey, I agree. That metal music is awesome. Ryan made that like Doom soundtrack, which is also in Dax Part 4, by the way. The whole song's in there like 3 or 4 times on a loop.
Yeah.
But yeah, We were editing that episode and we're like, dude, an explosion? This would be a sick point to drop that because I could not hear enough. We call it Pyroclastic Flow, by the way. That's the name of that song. And let's see. I don't know if we've read this one before. Oh, here we go. This is on season 2, episode 25, Ride or Die. And this is from Nathan. And he said, I'm caught up now, and I've got to say I really enjoy this podcast. Normally when I listen to Pathfinder podcasts, I tend to prefer things in the setting because I'm a big, huge fan of Galarion. However, this podcast is great all around. It's got me to feel things on many occasions. And I'm actually interested in the world and the lore. I can't wait for more. Well, hopefully you felt something when we just kicked out Tough. He's not a keeper. We kicked him out. Hopefully that didn't hurt too bad. And hopefully you enjoyed all that lore. Thank you. That was a really nice comment. Guys, do you guys feel things when you play? Do you guys cry? Or is it just me?
I feel too much.
Yeah, a little bit too much. I understand that. Well, you know what, guys? I don't know if that's clear or not, but we've been playing for like 8 hours.
That's crazy.
We did 3 episodes.
We did not
in a row.
anticipate this.
So we're running on fumes here, but that was a fun episode.
That was a good episode.
And we're going to hop into the downtime, and we will see you guys next season.
Okay, real quick, I just want to say I love everybody.
Oh.
I love all of you.
Well, so do I.
I love all the people listening.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you for a great season.
I just want to piggyback on that and just steal everything he's saying.
Same.
Okay.
Me too.
Also that one. Yeah.
Taryn's not
Also
here, so
that.
he can't.
Yeah. If you haven't already, join our Discord. Come hang out with us. Come talk.
Yeah. We'll talk. We'll
really
still be
appreciate
there in the season break.
We'll be
We'll still
chilling.
hop into this.
Oh, yeah, we'll be
Discord.
chilling.
So
Yeah. And we will see you next season, mortals.
Well, you came to my house. Perhaps you could tell me why you are here.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're wait, what are we doing again? What's our mission in like a sentence?
Why are we here? What is it?
You just walk into his house. What's going on? He's like, I don't know. Thanks for the coffee. What are we doing? What's going on here?
Who are you?
Why are you living here, you freaking weirdo? Like, I don't know.